You're listening to Bold Hearts, Big Moves, the show for female entrepreneurs who want it all: a thriving business, deep self love, and fulfilling relationships. I'm Erin Anderson, and each week we will dive into how to set stronger boundaries, make empowered choices, and show up in life and business with boldness, authenticity, and heart. Because let's be real, the money you make is directly related to the love that you have for yourself and the strength of your relationships. So if you're ready to lead with love and make those big moves with those bold hearts, let's dive in.
Hey guys, welcome back to Bold Hearts, Big Moves. So I have with me today somebody that I absolutely adore. If you guys have ever had a conversation with me, she probably pops up in every conversation. Let's just be honest. Because if you're building a business, you need somebody that knows boundaries. You need somebody that knows money. You need somebody that knows really how to get in and help you achieve the results that you want. And as far as I'm concerned, there's nobody better out there than Kushla Chadwick. She's a very, very dear, wonderful friend of mine. I think God is so good because he literally dropped Kushla into my lap, and I've seen the way she works with her clients. She's worked with me. I still work with Kushla on a client coach basis, and she's absolutely, absolutely amazing. So, without further ado, welcome, Kushla. So excited to
Thank
have
you for
you.
having me. And that was really kind. Thank you so much.
Well, it's true. It's just simply true.
Yeah, thank you.
So, yeah, I just gotta say, guys, like we're talking about like the seven different types of boundaries, and I've taught the first six. And today we're talking about the money boundary. And even though like I feel like I'm understanding the money boundary myself better and I'm attracting more money even than ever have this year with my business alone, Kushla's the one that's actually helped me get it to six figures. And for that reason alone, like what she's going to say to you guys today is invaluable. And she had to come on for this one. Like I just had to have her. So,
I'm
anyway,
excited. I'm excited. I love talking about this.
I know it's so good. It's so exciting. So some of the things we're talking about today. Okay, we're definitely going to spell out like what is the money boundary in layman's terms, how you can apply that into your life, and then why do when you improve your relationships, why is it that money starts showing up? Because I have seen it across the board. I work with people on their relationships mainly. Um, but of course, like I start working with them with their boundaries and money starts showing up. And it's just so amazing to watch businesses blow up and them find like all kinds of success. So we're going to talk about why that is too today. So, Kushla, in your
Mhm.
terms, tell us about the money boundary.
Okay, where to begin? Because I know you just kind of touched on like four or five different things there, right? So
Yes.
money, the money boundary is like any boundary in terms of it requires you getting clear on what it is you need, what you prefer, and also like making a plan for how you're going to let other people know about it, right? A lot
Mm,
of the time people think boundaries are about making other people do what you want or asking other people to do what you want. But what a boundary really is, it's us saying to people, like letting them know what our preferences are, letting them
hmm
know what it is that we want, but also as we make a request, letting them know, like, if this doesn't happen, then this is what we'll do. Or, and it's not in a way like tone is really important when you're doing it, body language, all the different aspects of communication are so important when you are looking
Yep.
at healthy boundaries with other people, and with yourself as well. But really, like even as I'm describing that, we can make it simpler by saying it's just a way of getting your preferences, expectations, protection that you need met, right? So it's protecting
Mm.
yourself, protecting other people, because other people need to be protected from our own ignorance, from our own kind of
Yes.
forgetfulness and all of those things. So it's really about creating, more peace, more happiness for us, for our families, and for other people through understanding what it is that we need and putting a plan in place to make it happen. With money specifically, well, you think of money, it ties into all of the things, right? It's not just about money. It can be about our personal space, it can be about our cars, it can be about our time, because time is required. Our action is required in time for us to make money. So it's not just about money, it's about all of the things. And as we go in today, you'll see that money has a huge impact on our relationships, and relationships also have a huge impact on our money. So we'll get into that
Yes.
hopefully as the conversation goes.
Yeah, like, because it's so exciting, because I've watched my clients, like I said, like work on their relationships and especially their relationship with God and themselves, right? And all of a
Yeah.
sudden, like the things that they want just start like falling into their place. Like I just had a client today, and you know who this is, but I'm not gonna
Mm.
say the name because of course
Yeah.
this is podcast. Anyway, but I don't know what accent that was, by the way.
Sound a little
But
bit English.
something. So maybe it's somewhere out in the aisles.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, but like she told me today, and this is gonna excite you. She's been like looking for boundaries and like focusing on boundaries and studying boundaries for like 20 years, right? In the last 2 weeks, since we've really started hitting on boundaries, she's starting to find like ways to actually implement them. Um, her marriage, which was actually super, super rocky, uh, he's actually coming and apologizing to her for the first time in their 16 years of marriage.
Wow.
And she's had like 5 business opportunities like just fall right into her lap. And she gets paid, she's going to start getting like another $4,000 or $5,000 a month just
Awesome.
with those things. And it's like, I haven't even hardly touched her business.
Yeah.
I've been working with her on her relationships, and it's across the board that I see this stuff happening, right?
Yeah.
So tell me what's going on here.
Well, I like to look at money as a symbol, to be honest. And a lot of the time, you and I both have a Christian um, background. We're
Mm,
both members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And, we read the Bible like all Christians do.
mm-hmm.
And when we have a look at the Bible, there are some things that might come out of there that we read, which is so often misunderstood or studied in the wrong context, right?
A little.
Yeah, yeah. And I know, like, I won't go into that right now, but the truth of it is that money is not something that we need to um, love, and it is also not something that we want to push away and not have be in a relationship with, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the way that I look at money is it is symbolic of our relationship. So, for instance, if you are someone who like really holds on to money tightly, and you like really don't like spending it, you try and control other people with it, like just say you're always saying no to other people, like say your spouse or your children or whatever, then it's likely that you're controlling in the relationships you have as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're someone who is not, excuse me, is not aware of what's coming in and out of your bank accounts and where money's flowing to and where it's flowing from, and you're not aware of, the details of how much you're earning, and you're not tracking your money, then it's likely that you're someone who in your relationships um, doesn't like you're not watching for the nuances and what's really happening in the relationships. You're missing a lot of the details in the story. You're missing opportunities to connect with people, and likely sometimes ignoring the people that you love, which sounds really awful, right? But I know a lot of women who, I've coached a lot of business owners over the years, and some of them have difficulty with tracking their money and tracking the different things. And
Mm-hmm.
they're also a lot of the time the ones who feel guilt over their relationships with their family members. And it's not to say that one causes the other, but it brings an awareness of where you're at, where your subconscious programming is at. So those are just two little examples, but I can use a ton of other examples just to show like money's a really good symbol. So it's really helpful to look at, how am I with money? What is my relationship like with money? And is it going to meet my needs? Is it going to meet the needs of anyone else who relies on you with money? So perhaps, you're married, or you're in a relationship, or you have children, or you have employees as a business owner, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully you have clients and customers, and we've got responsibilities to all of these people. So it is really important that we look at ourselves in our relationship with money. And if we're not in a good relationship with money right now, that's fine. Our past thinking has got us to where we are. What we want to do is recognize we have set ways of thinking and engaging in life and with money right now. And now we get to bring in new thoughts and new feelings and change them up so that our future self gets to enjoy something different than what we're enjoying now, or what we're going through and experiencing now.
Yes. And it's so true. And I think about this simple fact of like how our money is showing up for us is often sometimes like how we're showing up for other people. That's exactly what you're saying, right?
Yep.
And like I'm looking at my own personal self here, and like looking at the 7 different types of boundaries, and I'm like, okay, I feel like I've got this one, I feel like I've got this one, I feel like this one, oh, I probably need to button up this one, or oh, I need to button up that one a little bit more, you know? But what's amazing as I button those things up, more clients come in, just,
Mm-hmm.
you know, by
It could be the smallest thing too.
I know, right? The absolute smallest thing. Like yesterday was fantastic because I actually got held up an extra hour after choir practice. I shouldn't say held up because it was fabulous. It was such a good talk, but just by someone who needed help with trauma, right? And needed help with her boundaries, and she needed help that I knew how to give. And go figure, this was a therapist.
Yeah.
And bless their hearts, like they have such good intentions. Like she has such good intentions, and it's amazing to see like how, the dynamic at work between me and her, while we were chatting and everything like that. But I was able to answer some really, really hard questions for her that she's been ruminating on for such a long time because of these boundaries, because of the money boundary, because of the time boundary, because of some of these things that she herself have been struggling with, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And she just messaged me today and she's like, that was like the most transformative uh talk, like discussion I've ever had. And again, it's like these just simple principles. And if you look, like we were just talking about in the Bible, right? They're in there. These
Yeah.
principles are totally in there.
And I will say sometimes this is why it can be so great to work with a coach, right? It's not that we need to download everything from any coach or
Hmm.
program that we're working in. We don't need all of the things, but you're in this process of discussing with someone and being coached by someone. Sometimes it just takes one sentence, one like principle, one lesson to completely change the trajectory of your life in your business. And so when I'm working with a coach, I'm always just looking for like, what's that one thing that's going to help me to, grow in whatever way I'm wanting to grow, or to create change and transformation. And so that's really cool. That's a really good reminder, that discussion that you had with this friend who's a therapist at church.
Hmm.
And we can all create changes in our own life, in our business. And I really want to make this clear. If you're someone who's like, felt like you've struggled with money boundaries, or with having a really healthy money story for a long time, know that it is really, really normal, um, to like make some progress and then like get to a certain level and go, oh crap, like there's even more to clean up. I thought that I had all this done. The same thing happens with me as well. And you might have heard the saying like new level, new devil. Have you heard that saying?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so it's not like it's this one and done thing. Just like in all the other areas of our lives, there's always a chance to grow and
Yes.
improve things. But we've got to be in this place where we still feel a sense of peace, right? For the effort we've put in, just for like doing our best, even though our best sometimes is really crappy or our best actually isn't good enough to get the result that we want at a certain time. If you can peacefully accept that as a truth, right?
Mm-hmm.
And know that there's always time now, right? So what you haven't been able to achieve now, or like previously, you can still set in place today. And so
Yes.
I feel like every day is just a new beginning, and even every hour, every minute, like it's a new beginning. So if you're feeling like it's been a challenge so far, just know like you can turn things around very quickly. And I'll share a story when, excuse me, I'm getting over a little bit of a throat thing I got while I was traveling. I just
Oh.
got back from holiday. So anyway, so I will have another sip of water. But I wanted to share a story. And some of your listeners will know me, but years ago when I started, well, before I started coaching, I was an entrepreneur and I'd tried a bunch of different things from like not online, like live workshops, live events. I had an online program. I did do some workshops online, but I wasn't coaching. I actually didn't even realize that the coaching industry was a thing, which is really silly. But I wasn't someone who spent a lot of time online. I'd only started getting online so that I could, run a business online. Otherwise, I couldn't care less about the internet. That's a mindset that I had back then, right? Which
There's a
makes me
few
sound,
that still have that
yeah, yeah,
mindset, but
yeah,
continue. Yes,
yeah.
I hear that. I hear that. Mm-hmm.
Makes me sound like a bit of a dinosaur and whatever, but that's just how I was back then. So we're going back quite a while. So anyway, so I had like been experimenting with being online, and then I decided like I actually, well, so what was happening at the time was one of my daughters was really unwell,
Mm-hmm.
and she had started having anxiety attacks. And for me, that had something that I'd never experienced before. And I felt like I just needed mental space, white space, so that I could be the kind of mother that she needed me to be, and also be able to take care of our other children. I was homeschooling this daughter at the time. Oh no, sorry, she'd gone to high school to try that out for a little bit. But in any case, I knew I needed to have more white space. So I decided that I was going to cut back the number of hours I was working. So at that time, I was working up to 20 hours a week. I decided to cut it down to 5 hours, which is a drastic cut, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as a way of figuring out, well, what am I going to do? Because I had an online email program, which went out, I think, over like 5, 6 months or something. And I was only charging $50 for it. And at
Yeah.
the time, I thought that was like, I called it my soul offering. Yeah,
Yeah. I remember
yeah, I
that.
thought it was very, very generous of me. And to be honest, like it was a lot of work to do the
Mm-hmm.
program at that time. We didn't have social media like we do now to get the reach that we do. So it was very dependent on SEO marketing and a bunch of other things. And so it was challenging. In any case, I decided, like I said, to cut my hours back to 5 hours a week because one of my highest values are God and family, right? And so
Yes.
my daughter really needed me. And so that was a decision I made. It was obviously not going to be a long-term decision, but I did it. And as a result, I put my prices up times 72 times 72. So I put my prices up from $50 to 3,600. And instead of offering this email option, I offered the opportunity to work with me privately. And I sent out and asked for referrals. I did a video actually and sent that video out to like a handful of people. And out of I think it's like 6 people from one person who I asked were referred to me. 5 of them enrolled to work with me. And so,
Nice. That's
yeah,
awesome.
it comes coming from one referral. And what happened, like, we talk about this, like when you are in alignment with your values, when you're in alignment with who you really are, and you take a stand for that, sometimes there's going to be a shift in your business and you're not going to be sure if that's exactly right. But I have seen that every time I take a stand for my values and staying in alignment with them, it still has to feel light driven. It's not like a decision that's made out of fear. It felt good to make that decision, right? And I didn't overthink it. I just did it because it was right. It felt right. It felt good at the time. Um, and logically, it also made sense as well. And so there was like this heart-mind connection. I made a quick decision, and my business completely changed in a matter of a week. It was amazing to me. And, I created, I think within like 3 days, $24,000 in income. And
That's so cool. I love
yeah,
that.
and that wasn't because someone told me to do it. That was me following following the spirit, following my intuition, and staying true to my values. But backing up to that, like in relation to this conversation, I think the most important boundaries we need to have in place when it comes to money is firstly with ourselves, right?
Yes, I was actually just about ready to say that.
Yeah.
And because I just want to say this because as I'm hearing you talk, how many times do we hear from like business people or entrepreneurs or people that say that they're running a business or being entrepreneurs, how hard it is to charge money? If you're going to be an entrepreneur, right? Like one of the boundaries we've got to have is to charge
Yeah.
money, right?
Yeah, and charge what it is that we actually want. That's one of it's one of the best pieces of advice that I give. And I know it sounds really lame to a lot of people, but when people ask me, Kushla, how much should I charge? I say, charge the amount that you want that actually lights you up, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So that doesn't sound very strategic, but obviously we do get in and get more strategic about it. And we do some number crunching and all of those things. But ultimately, I would never want someone to charge an amount that doesn't make them extremely happy to do the work for. We have to understand, particularly if we're speaking to people who provide some kind of service, who do some kind of coaching or mentoring, or they're an expert of some kind, the work that we do is life-changing. And
Yes.
just because you've got to a stage where some of it at least is natural and easier for you, it certainly isn't for your clients, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
if they could just easily go do it, they'd just easily go do it, right? And they wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
be looking for someone to help them in that area. They would have just done it, right? And
Yes.
so what we do is we save people time. We help them, we save them energy, like the energy that they might invest in trying to figure things out. They can now invest that mental energy back into their family, back into their own lives, back into their hobbies and all of those things. Because sure, there's like a gazillion different ways that places that we can get advice, but all that time and energy they're spending into like going here and going there, and they could just work with you. Instead of something taking 6 years, it could take 6 months, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that 5.5 years of time, which they would have spent trying to like, Frankenstein their life or business together, whatever it is they're doing,
I like the way
right?
you put that. It's
They could then
bolts.
have that back. Yeah, they could then have that back and be using that with their family, with their lives. For instance, for me, one of the things as a successful entrepreneur, I knew that I wanted to travel. But before I had that financial success, I was like, I want to travel more. I got married when I was young. I was 23. 11 months later, we had our first child. We've got 3 daughters. And to be honest, at that stage, I'd only traveled Australia, New Zealand, Australia, New Zealand, Australia, New Zealand. I was born in New Zealand, moved to Australia when I was a teenager. And I really wanted to travel, but then it didn't happen for a variety of reasons. But once I decided I was going to be an entrepreneur, I'm like, one of the things I wanted the freedom to do was travel. And now I think it's been like 17, 18 countries. Um, I just got back off holiday with friends, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a country. So I've traveled to South Korea now 4 times. This is my fourth trip. And each time it's been with a different group of people because I'm learning the language. But like, it sounds to some people, they're like, that's excessive. For me, it's like,
I
it's
love
just
it.
it's a decision I've made because I'm learning the language. I get to go in and be, practice more with people. I enjoy the country. I love being there. And my money boundaries have given me the opportunity, my boundaries for myself, my boundaries with my clients, my boundaries with my husband and children and friends. All of these things have helped me to create the business that gives me the opportunity to do that, right?
Yes.
And might not be travel for, the
Yeah.
audience, but it's like whatever it is for them. For me, it was travel. You
Well,
learn something.
this is what I love about what you're saying. No, first of all, as you're talking, I'm sitting here thinking, see, this is why you do podcasting with people you love and like your coaches, is because you learn things that you never knew. Like, I
Yeah,
never knew that about like you just traveling back and forth between Australia and New Zealand, because you have said before about like Americans and how we only travel to America.
yeah.
It's kind of true. It's kind of true. But like I'm just sitting there thinking this, but at the same time, the other thoughts that I'm thinking here is looking at my own story. Like when I put my prices up and I am now, attracting clients, I've got this podcast and I'm really standing out as a coach who knows how to help people like with their boundaries, heal trauma, all these things. What's amazing is watching uh my own income come in and like it expands and it's influxing, right? And watching and seeing like, oh, guess what? I have some money boundaries that I have to figure out, right? And that's
Yeah,
that's the beauty of earning more. You don't, and I think a lot of people have this backwards,
yeah,
that we have to get all of our structures in place before we earn more. And it's actually not the case. I found that it's a lot more like it's better to actually be earning the money, realizing that you need to tighten up your boundaries there.
yeah,
And because it helps you see exactly what boundaries you need.
yeah.
I think like
Imperfect.
gaining more gives you clarity. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Money follows momentum. So as an entrepreneur, like this is really important for you to get. Money will follow momentum. So for instance, you might decide you're going to reach out to like 50 people and ask for referrals. You might decide you're going to do a webinar launch. You might decide you're going to follow up with previous leads, like leads you've had who are like 6 months old leads or something, right? There's a bunch of different things you could do. You might do a 5-day challenge. Now, you might only have one or maybe no clients come from whatever method you're using to get leads and clients. But as you get into momentum, they will come. They
Yeah.
will come, right? It's just universal law that as you take action, there's going to be a reaction and people will come to you, right?
So yes.
And so that's why sometimes when people are like, oh, I don't want to do this until this looks good, right? Till my website's done. I don't want to reach out to people till my website's ready. I'm like, bull crap. Reach out to them now. Just send them a PayPal link. Have a conversation with them. Like if you can help them, let them know.
Hmm.
Um, don't try and
Seriously.
don't try and look a perfect way because there's always going to be something you can improve. I've had a gazillion websites at this stage, and none of them have been like what I would say are amazing.
Yeah, but
You know,
none of them were as bad as my first one. Like,
oh,
let's just
no, correct.
mine was so bad.
Yeah, yeah. Visually, I will say that is true. Okay. Erin and I have had many conversations about her visual assets, right? But in any case,
It's
you
now a
know,
joke.
yeah, it doesn't have. I think that's a perfect example of you don't have to wait for things to
Mm-mm.
be perfect. And it's in fact, it's going to have a negative impact, even if, for instance, you do wait and you do by some miracle happen to have this amazing launch or whatever with your website. Well, um, there's also all this money that didn't come in previously that could have come in. And you've also missed the lessons of like what is, to speak to your point, the lessons that you could have learned through
Yeah.
doing things perfectly, because what happens when we set a goal, when we're determined to follow a path, when we've decided like this is what I'm manifesting and creating or co-creating, whatever language you want to use, it's like it becomes obvious what needs to be cleared away. I say, when you want something, anything unlike it is going to come to the surface for you to clear out. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So perhaps as you're taking action, you're saying like, hey, I need to actually tidy up my boundaries with my children because my children aren't respecting my boundaries as a working
Yes.
mother. Maybe you need to tidy up your boundaries with your clients because you said you've given them email access, but you're starting to grow resentful because they're emailing you and expecting you to reply, you know, within an hour or so. And again, you need to tidy up your boundaries
Yep.
because a lot of the time we just think, well, people should know. Like it's
No.
obvious. I should know. Well, no, they don't. That's why
No.
we have boundaries. It gives you the opportunity to articulate this is, what I want. This is what I hope to receive. And it's about exchanging with people. We're exchanging thoughts, ideas, rituals, habits, practices, all of those things. But we need to be clear and articulate to people what it is that we want from them, and
Yes.
we're not trying to control anyone. We're not trying to force them to do anything. I do want to say with boundaries with children are not the same as boundaries with adults. Okay, so I want
Yes.
to make that clear. It's a completely different thing, and you're in a different relationship with your own children. But yeah, it gives you a chance anyway to have a look at what do I need to do. And it only takes one change at a time, one change at a time, one change at a time before suddenly you turn around and your life is completely different in so many amazing ways because you chose to do the things with your boundaries that you haven't done previously. And you've recognized what those things are because you started taking messy action in your business and in your personal life. You just got in and start doing things. So rather than sitting there thinking about it, YouTubing things, like podcasting things, it's great. All of these online resources that we have and platforms that we have can be used to really be so amazing. Hopefully
Agreed.
you're going to have people listen to this podcast, but we've got to go take things away and implement them. Or what are we doing?
Yes.
We're thinking and thinking and thinking, and that, hello, gets you nowhere.
Well, and this actually brings me to the last and the final piece of this podcast, and that is what are some of like the top three boundaries that we can start using for our money boundaries? And I think you just said the top one, and that is take action, right? Like whether you've got like okay, again, if you're saying that you're an entrepreneur, you should
Mm.
be earning money. That's just
Yeah.
that's just the thing, right? And I know
Yeah.
like there's a gal, she's I love her with all my heart and soul. She has some amazing, amazing like intellectual property, like some of the best I've ever seen. But yet she's
Mm.
not making anything because she refuses to charge people,
Oh, yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
she just wants to help the world. And it's like the thing that I really want to explain here for just a second is when you charge a client, you're actually not just helping yourself, you're also helping the client,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Like it's one of the
Totally.
best things to do because number one, like you and I have worked before in a client coach relationship, right? Like we still are in a lot of ways. I love paying you for the help you give me. Like, I absolutely love it. There needs to be some value behind your advice, right?
Yeah. And I wouldn't want to invest the amount of time and energy and effort into helping you if I wasn't receiving an exchange. Like there's a part
Exactly.
of our brain that gets lit up when we are in the service of others, when we help others, and there's a part of our brain that gets lit up when we are doing things for ourselves. And we need both of those things. So I'm going to share a few things. You mentioned three boundaries, right?
But you can go into more if you need to, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I've actually got a list here of about 17, which I don't have open, but I, I, I was like, dang, nugget,
Of
I have a
course you
list
do.
of 17. Yeah, of course I
I
don't
knew it.
have
I
it.
knew it. I knew it.
But actually, I do want to share like three that I think will be amazing. I think the first one is personally as a business owner, is to separate your personal finances and your business finances. So whether or not you're married in a relationship or not, I think it's just a good practice to get into. So, otherwise it's really easy to mix it up, for things to get really messy, speaking from personal experience here, right? And so you want to have multiple bank accounts, and rather than deciding on a set amount, it's easy to go and set percentages. So that's one that I recommend going into. And I could probably, if anyone wants to get access to it, maybe we'll just get them to drop the word, like money boundaries, and I'll send a list of like how you can divide up your accounts. So just money boundaries. And they can just send that to my Instagram. So Kushla Chadwick official at Instagram, and I'll send it off to them. Okay. So you want to have that separation of business and personal. And also know, along with that goes a conversation. If you are married or in a relationship with someone, you want to have a conversation around your business accounts, and like it is not a shared account. Okay. No one else gets access to that account, including your spouse, okay? Because unless they're in partnership with your business, they don't get access to it. Like your business is its own entity, and it needs to be taken care of as its own entity. You've got a responsibility to it, okay? So that's the first one. Excuse me. The next one is around pricing. As a business owner, is to know and value what you bring to the table. One of the worst things you can do is try and be quote unquote affordable. And I know what that's like. And even in, like, people talk about challenging times. I'm sorry, but there's always challenging times somewhere for someone.
Yes, you're right.
So we can buy into the hype or not. And, there's 7-year cycles that happen in markets and all of that stuff. I just say all of the time, charge what lights you up to charge. But also that amount has got to make sense strategically for what you're doing. So, for example, if your goal is to make your first $100,000 year, right? You've got no email audience or a very low social audience. Your pricing, like your strategy, has to be able to work with the numbers you're working with now, right? And the numbers that you can see logically are going to happen within the next short period of time. So it might be, instead of, a product that's $100 that's got to go out to 1,000 people, which means you've got to probably get like 10,000 audience members looking at your stuff and liking not liking as in social liking, but engaging with it. Well, instead it might be 10 clients. I say 10 clients. 10 clients. I have 4 fingers in. It might be 10 clients, right? Who is $10,000 each to work with, right? And instead, if you're doing enrollment conversations versus online clicking, that means probably you've got to speak to like about 30 people for an entire year, even if you're really good at the enrollment conversation. So it's going to be a price that lights you up, but also what you give in exchange, the way you work's got to light you up. And it doesn't mean everything's going to always be fabulous about working online. There are challenges, there are times you're like, it sucks, all of the things, right? But the majority of the time, the work you do, if that lights you up, your pricing's right, and it matches your strategy, you've got to do that math. We've got to get our maths on, right? And it's simple maths, but it's really important maths. Or those are things you've got to have in place, right? So have a strategic plan. Don't just have a to-do list, a strategic plan with prices that light you up. And then the third thing is make sure you've got payment terms and conditions in place, right? So for instance, if someone's going to get access to anything online, most of the time, particularly if you're doing something like running ads to it, like there's going to be no refund available, right? No refund for your low ticket things, because it's instant download. The nature of online things is you just don't want to have to avoid with people who like download something then ask for a refund, because there are people still like that, right? Or maybe your numbers are so big, you're like, I can, financially we can take the hit on say 10% of our audience asking for refunds, and offer a really generous refund period. And you've got, none of these are right or wrong, but you've just got to decide for yourself, like, what are my terms and conditions? I have 3 terms and conditions that I go over with all of my coaching clients, whether it's group coaching or private coaching. And so it's going to give you peace of mind. It's going to prevent resentment. It's going to free up mental space so you can enjoy life more offline when you're not worrying about the money that's flowing in and out of your business. And it means getting very, very clear on your terms and conditions,
Yes.
loving your pricing, being really happy about your pricing. Freaking don't just discount, or like if someone asks for a price drop, no, sorry, I don't negotiate my prices. Let me find someone who you might want to work with, or I have a product that's lower price point that I think will still get you started, right? But you don't negotiate pricing with people. So, and those are a few to get your audience started. And I will say if they want more help, I can definitely. I would love to invite them to my Facebook group, actually. Come to the Confident Coach Academy Business Coaching Community. That's Confident Coach Academy Business Coaching Community on Facebook. When you come in and join, you'll get a chance to get some other free resources that will be really helpful as well in making them money, and also a chance to get a free call with me. So
take advantage of it, guys.
Yeah. Yes,
You'll be glad you did.
Have a look. Yeah. Personally have a look and see what do you need to focus on and what's going to help you to yield the most money and still love your business and have a good life offline.
Yes. So, and as well as the Confident Coach Academy, Kushla also has a podcast, the Confident Coach Academy community, right? And
Confident Coach Academy podcast. Yeah.
Yes. And so you can also go check out her podcast, go sign up for her Facebook group. She has some fantastic tips in there. And seriously, guys, like if there's anybody out there that can help you in your business, Kushla's the gal.
Thank you, Erin.
Really.
You're always so lovely. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome, but it's true. It's true. All right, you guys. I love having Kushla. She's going to be back again. I don't maybe we'll talk about the difference between the boundaries with adults and kids.
Yeah,
that might be a good one.
it.
That might be a good one. So we'll have Kushla back. We'll be chatting about that, and especially where she's so amazing with business and relationships in general. She's just amazing to chat with for sure. So, all right.
You.
You're welcome. Thank you, Kushla, for being with us, and thank you everybody else for listening in. And until next time, I'll see you soon, guys. Bye.
All right, Boundary Boss babes. I'm super excited that you tuned in with me today. Make sure you tune in again next week as we chat about more Boundary Boss babe topics. We're going to get into so many other things about how to set boundaries with your business, how to set boundaries with your relationships, so you can truly have the time, the money, and the flexibility that you are seeking. So tune in next week. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast. Let your other boss babe friends know about it. And also, if you've got any questions, make sure you submit them into the podcast by clicking on the send us a text message at the bottom of the podcast description. I look forward to seeing you guys next week. See you later, boss babes.